Welcome to this month's Sense Fitness collaboration with Upstate Meal Prep. We are going to take you through a meal prep masterclass.
We're here with Janelle and Camille Chaluska.
Yes.
And they're going to take us through, and we're going to get all down and dirty in this yummy food and figure out how to meal prep so that it's not intimidating, right guys?
Absolutely.
All right, let's get started.
So, as one might assume, the first thing you need to do before you start to meal prep is decide what you're going to cook. So, I'm seeing a lot of herbs and spices. You're mashing, I'm going to assume cauliflower. We've got beans, corn, cheese, beef, rice, the whole thing. So, first things first, how do you guys decide what the weekly menu is going to be?
Well, we always like to try to give a lot of variety, so we will look at our past weeks and make sure we're not doing any repeats. But like spicy things are always a good crowd pleaser. Everybody likes those. But we will generally look at like what's in season. So when the fall came around, I was super excited to do things with like cranberries and pumpkins and squash and like really harvest fall festival like ideas. So that's like a good point. And then with the spring coming around, we have like asparagus, fresher produce. And then the summer, obviously, lots of fruit, fresh vegetables. So, and then as far as like putting meals together, one thing you can do is just look in your own pantry and see what you have on hand. If you have a lot of pastas left, a lot of rices, or some canned variations, you can kind of always find something to mush it all together and make a fantastic meal. So,
are you finding that your current clients and customers, like, they just want a lot of the same things repeatedly? Are there any staples that you kind of carry over week to week?
Yes, we actually have a specific menu that we're putting out just for real fitness enthusiasts. They tend to like to eat just very simple, the same things. So it's going to be like a protein, either grilled chicken, ground beef, rice is huge, whole wheat pasta, and some kind of green veggie. And those, they're just consistent. They can stay at the course of their macros, and they just like to just not think about it and just eat the same thing over and over again. They just find it's easier.
Yeah, and a lot of those foods that you mentioned will keep in the fridge for 3, 5, 7 days.
Oh yeah.
What, two-part question here, what are the types of food and types of produce that you would recommend somebody looking to get into meal prep use more often, because it's going to be able to keep in the fridge for a while? And then on the flip side, what sorts of things would you suggest people avoid if they're going to prepare on a Sunday and maybe not get to it till Friday?
Yeah, so let's start with the avoidance. Definitely any seafood. That is not going to last you. So I would definitely stay away from that unless you're going to eat it right away. We as a business don't really put seafood on our menu just because a lot of people are taking this to work. They're using it as their lunch source, and nobody wants to smell at the office with some seafood. So.
I only do that if somebody irritates me. Then I come in with the cod and the salmon and the broccoli. Yeah. So probably the things that will keep in the fridge the longest: chicken, turkey, beef.
Yes, chicken, turkey, beef. Our green vegetables. We do a lot of spinach, broccoli, green beans. All those pretty, they have a lot of withholding in the fridge and reheating, so they reheat really nicely. Yeah. So you're not looking like, oh, I'm eating leftovers. Like, no, it's a nice fresh meal ready to go for you.
Right. So deciding the menu, what's in season, what's available in the pantry, what's going to keep in the fridge for 3, 5, 7 days, and ultimately what you enjoy eating.
All right, so I promise I didn't plan it this way, but Camille is ready to prep the meals, and that's exactly what I wanted to talk about with him. So we're not going to be too distracting here, but Camille, you're working on setting up the food in the containers.
Yes.
Tell me, what's the strategy here? Is there one?
There's really no strategy. The only strategy is whatever my wife tells me to do. But what we try to do is make a nice Tupperware. So when you kind of take it and look at it and you say, oh, looks good.
Yeah.
So before you even taste it. So I always try to put everything together. What do we usually do with the rice? We do 1 cup of rice, 4 ounces of beef, and then we'll do beans, corn, cheese, cilantro, and a little bit of lemon. So that's gonna be our first dish today.
So there is a little bit of method to the madness, right? And I can tell you said you're measuring out 4 ounces. We're going to get to the macronutrient conversation in a little bit with Jim, but I want to understand from you guys, you meant visually, it should also look as good as it tastes,
Yes,
right? Because
absolutely.
so much of what we do when we look at food, we eat with our eyes and then with our stomachs, right? So
Just like everything else.
right, absolutely. So when you're meal prepping, how much kind of prep work on your guys' end goes into figuring out like what's gonna look good together and taste good together? Is that a weird question to ask? I don't know.
I think that Janelle will answer this one a little bit.
No, it definitely is a thought process because I can think of something really good. Like, who doesn't want like a hamburger?
Right.
Well, how am I going to put a hamburger in here? What if somebody
Right.
wants a bun? The bun's going to be squished. It's going to be soggy. So, we're not going to do a hamburger with a bun because
Right.
that's just not going to look good after a couple of days.
Yeah.
Maybe like an enchilada. All right, great. We're going to do enchiladas, but you know what? Now they have to be perfectly sized to fit 2 in a package that look nice, that are still like the right macros. They're still, everyone's getting the right nutritional information that they're requesting. And then you're gonna open it, it's still gonna look pretty. So yeah, definitely some figuring out, I gotta use this size tortilla, I gotta use this kind of rice, or just seeing what's gonna fit into your container and look good.
And then to the actual containers, right? So if you swing back around this way, they've got a stack here. We're talking about where to get things like these. Obviously Amazon, places like that will sell them, or your local stores, wherever you guys find them, maybe a Restaurant Depot. But how often do you guys deviate? Like, for instance, if you do an enchilada, you need a sauce. Do you guys have to do that a lot? Like get those little mini cups and put
Yeah, we
sauces
got
in
it.
it?
We usually use the sauces a lot for like seeds and nuts for our snacks that we do, or granola for like a yogurt topping, or breakfast. We usually do a lot of like a sugar-free syrup. So definitely have them all laid out, portioning them, lots of fun.
No, absolutely. And then talk to me a little bit too about variety. I know that you're into, the competitions,
Yes.
right? For you guys, variety isn't the important thing. It's more, let me get my protein, let me get my carb, let me get my, right? So for someone who's not used to meal prepping or who doesn't understand kind of the philosophy behind grab and go, right? It's easy, it hits your macronutrients. How do you get kind of those people to understand, hey, this is like not only delicious, but it makes sense. It's easy,
You should
right?
definitely start with something easy. Don't kill yourself, make yourself 7 days, 4 or 5 meals, the same meals, and eat them, because you will get tired of it and you most likely will quit.
Yeah.
There is a really little percentage of people who would be like, oh, this is actually good. I'm gonna do this every single day. So I will maybe do 3 to 4 different meals for 7 days a week, and hopefully that will kind of, in your mind, you can say, oh, I'm eating always something different.
Right.
I don't eat the same thing. And then maybe later on you can cut 1 meal and have the 3 meals, the same meals, and then the 2. Because most likely it's, what I actually eat is pretty much just the chicken and beef. And then once I get closer to my competition, then I turn into turkey and I turn into fish.
Got it. So, just like we always say, right? It's not like you're gonna overhaul your entire lifestyle overnight and just go into like, I'm gonna be a master meal prep person. No, right? These guys know what they're talking about. They've been doing this for a long time, right? Most of your life, you've been running this business for over a year now. So it makes sense that you want people who know what they're doing, who are gonna put these fantastic meals together for you that are gonna taste good, that are easy and beautiful to look at.
So we're looking at buckets of food here. We got beef, rice cauliflower, chicken, there's rice over there. Anybody looking at this from home might be intimidated. This is pounds and pounds of food here. And I find that, and I'm sure you guys experience this too, most people, the detriment, or they think the detriment to getting into being a master meal prepper is just the time that it takes to prepare all of this. Now, you guys prepare meals for dozens and dozens of people every week, so this is obviously a bit exaggerated from what it would be for, let's call them normal people. So what have both of you learned over time in how to reduce the amount of time that it takes to prepare 3, 5, 7 days worth of meals and do it in an efficient way?
Okay, so bulk for me will be the bulk. Cooking in a bulk, that definitely speeds up, freed up the time during a week. Let's say Sunday, that's usually people have a day off. So let's take a Sunday, couple hours, or I'm gonna make my meals. You can take a simple chicken, cut it out, you know, put it in the oven, put it on a grill, very simple. What we find always useful is definitely big Tupperwares. So you don't have it all over the kitchen, you know, little portions. You put it in one and then line it up like we have here, like you see the rice in one, the beef is another one. Start with this, cook it, and then portion it out. You know, that will be for me the most helpful. Then a cooking material or cooking supplies.
Yeah.
What we like to use at home is one of those skillets. We can use, you can, you know, cook in there. You can prepare this beef, chicken, veggies.
It's really good for even just like home use if you're having like Taco Tuesday, keeps it warm, or you're having like a little, you know, party and have some hors d'oeuvres in there, or some, you know, you can cook pasta in there, anything. It's so versatile. It's non-stick. It's super easy to clean. So we would recommend that everyone should have one of these things.
Another thing what we like to use is definitely the rice cooker, a little bit bigger one, or you can go with the small one, which we use first, but obviously now we expand it, so we have the bigger rice cooker. So
And we like
using
those
that.
because they free up a burner on the stove. So if you've got all 4 burners going and you still need rice, you have an
And
extra
that's
burner.
right there.
So,
That's the time saving. You know,
Yeah.
you don't have to wait to finish one to start another one. You can have both of them cooking at the same time, so you save yourself.
I
a
also
lot
have
of
these
time.
pans out here because pans, if you're using things for the oven, cooking multiple items, you know, you have a couple split chicken breasts, you know, that could take up one pan. So if you have an additional one ready to go in the oven as soon as the other one's out, you know, we have just a couple sets of pans, makes it a lot easier. I like to put a liner down because it makes cleanup a lot easier too, but some people like to scrub, so that's fine. But yeah, definitely the pans, a cooling rack, those are some helpful items. Making sure everything's also within reach, so you have everything that you'll need to cook your meal in front of you. So you're not stopping, looking. Maybe you're making meatballs and you're like, oh, I need more seasoning. It's gonna be right there. You don't have to wash your hands and or remove gloves or go find it. So having everything available is good.
Yeah, and you can cook a bunch of this stuff, like you said, 2, 3, 4 things at one time, given all the different appliances that you have.
Yeah.
So how much time, you know, you invest the time up front, an hour, 2 hours on a Sunday to prepare your meals for you and your family. How much time saving have you found that it kind of buys back that initial 2-hour investment
Oh, it's huge.
rather than preparing fresh
Yeah.
meals, you know, every single time, 3 times a day, even throughout the week?
It's great because you can just come home, rush home from work with, you know, if you have a kid or big kids, you know, you don't have to like worry, like, what am I going to make for dinner? You know, we do pepper it in like, you know, whatever somebody has a craving for, pot roast here or a fresh cooked meal here, but it's always nice to have something ready to go. So you can literally just grab it and go and feed your little one or your big one, and everyone's nice and full and happy, and you can just carry on with your day. You don't have to worry about running to the store or dirtying more dishes because, you know, the dishes never end anyway. So it's
Dishes
just
and
nice.
laundry.
It seriously is a revolving door. But yeah, and our stepson really loves it too because we can just have containers for him ready to go because he's, you know, older now, so he's in and out of the house. He might not be here for dinner every night to sit down, but at least he has something ready to go. It's there, helps himself. So it's a huge time saver.
Yeah. And as you're preparing all of this, you've got a couple of things in the oven, you've got the rice cooker going, different things, the grill
I
outside.
was about to say one of the best probably thing, the grill. You can do the meat, you can do the veggies on the grill. It's nice and simple and very quick.
Yeah.
And tasteful.
So in between times, you got everything going at once. What would you recommend people do to kind of save time on the in-between times? Are they cleaning? Do you recommend that they clean up a little bit? They prepare something else? What's your best advice in that situation?
I personally, it's the cleanup. I always like to do the dishes because you don't want them to pile up. Because then you get frustrated, and then you might say next week, I'm not doing this again because of the mess. So as I'm waiting for the chicken or the rice, I have a couple of dishes. I'll wash them real quick.
And that's why we're
You know,
such a good team because then I'll start dirtying more dishes to move on to the next thing, and he's over here just scrubbing. So it works out great.
So for me, will be definitely the cleanup. It's one of the biggest thing, and annoying at the same time. So let's get it done. If I have a minute, let's clean something.
So as we were chatting in between takes, we figured why not talk about tips and tricks and tools. This is like one of my favorite things. I always love finding new ways or new accessories or new tools that we can use to make our lives just a little more simpler and more enjoyable when you're doing stuff like this. So Janelle popped up this thing. Do you guys know what this is? Have you ever seen this before? I thought I knew, but then I was like, oh no, it's not a potato masher. What is this?
This is like a meat masher. So for your ground beef, instead of using a regular spatula to break it up, this easily breaks it up literally 5 times as fast. So we love this because, you know, if you're not right on top of your ground beef, it can get a little
Like a pancake.
you know, like a pancake, and nobody wants a ground beef pancake. Well, maybe you do. So yeah, so we love this utensil.
Now, where'd you guys get that? Do you remember?
I think probably Walmart.
Walmart.
Yeah, I
I'm
think,
gonna
I
have
saw
to
my
start-
girlfriend use it on like an Instagram story or something, and then I saw one like the next day at Walmart, and I was like, well, it's meant to be. I have to have this.
Yeah, I'll end up using like a fork, or a spatula, but then it doesn't do what that thing does.
Yeah,
so
that's great.
pretty cool.
I highly recommend it. It's like $1.
Oh, definitely love that. And then also, of course, the most important thing, one of the most important things in meal prep is making sure you have consistency in all of your containers, right?
Yes,
So
absolutely.
what do we use for that?
We use a food scale. This one is mine because it's littler, and I use like littler things. And then my husband has his own food scale, which is bigger.
Because
he uses
he's bigger.
and he uses bigger containers.
Old cups.
Yeah, I would also recommend some nice measuring cups. I like these metal ones. He likes these like little plastic ones, but nice and sturdy, so you can scoop a lot of things, get a lot of use out of them. See here, and then also these bowls are very nice.
The nesting bowls.
The nesting
like the
bowls,
stainless
yep.
steel
So you can just
nesting.
have everything ready to go. They're super easy to clean. They're not going to stain like a Tupperware if you're using like something like meat or red sauce. But we love that.
And like you guys mentioned, having everything kind of accessible, right? So having these bowls, like it might seem counterintuitive, like why am I gonna dump all these cans of beans in there when I can just take it out of the can? Well, guess what? That cup, that measuring cup might not fit into a can, right? And then you wanna assembly line it so that you're like really like a manufacturing, like a plant, right? It's like you're just going through and putting it in, like we saw Camille doing earlier. So it makes sense. It might feel counterintuitive to like put this all out, make it all beautiful like this, but I think it just saves time in the end.
Absolutely. And like everything, if it's your first time doing it, don't get discouraged because it might take you a little bit longer. There is a learning curve. Like you didn't learn to ride a bike in a day. So give yourself a little, pat on the back. Okay.
Oh, Camille did.
Camille did. Sorry. But give yourself a break, and that's why it's nice to start off with like easier recipes that you might not need 10 different ingredients to put out. Just do a couple things, easy assembly line, and you get the hang of it.
Perfect.
So when you talk about meal prep, the obvious next conversation is about macros, macronutrients, your protein, fats, carbohydrates. Manipulate those in a variety of ways and achieve any desired body composition result in
Correct.
A basic sense. So how do you incorporate that into how you prepare the meals? Obviously the food scale is a huge component of all of that.
Absolutely. So we usually, you can start with basic analogy, which is protein. How much protein should I take? So they say for whatever pound you weigh, you should use 1.5 grams of a protein. So you start with this per day, not per portion, but per day. So let's say you eat 4 or 5 times a day. So you let's say you need 150 grams of carbs per meal per day. So you portion it out. If I eat 5 meals a day, then each meal should be 30 grams of protein, which is just about this 4 or 5 ounces of chicken, you know. And then the carbs, you go usually by what I want to accomplish. Do I want to get leaner? Do I want to get a little bit bigger? Do I want to stay healthy? So you go from there. But for us with our meal prep, what we portion up, it's 1 cup of rice. 1 cup of rice. It's either white rice or it's brown rice. Depends, preference per customer.
Yeah. Macros also means portioning, like you said, right? A lot of people want to follow macros, but they don't pay attention to their portions. So 4 to 5 ounces of your protein per meal, a cup of rice. You need the utensils, like we talked about earlier, to be in compliance, let's say, of that. So I see you have regular rice, cauliflowered rice, higher carb versus a lower carb option. talk about the difference there and how one person might choose rice over a cauliflowered rice and vice versa?
Well, I will say that's all the preference on which goals you have. Do you want to be bigger? Do you want to be leaner? I will go, if you are leaner, I will probably suggest more the cauliflower on the low carbs. But it wouldn't be also bad. Let's say you are active, you do active work. So it wouldn't be bad to, for the first half of the day, maybe have 1 or 2 meals with the rice, with the right rice. And then end of the day, when your day slow down, you don't want to put the carbs in your body. You will go churn into that cauliflower, so your body can break it out easier, and you don't have to put all these carbs in your body.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, when they look at what should be in my meal, protein, I need to eat a ton of protein, and people really struggle to eat 100 or more grams of protein per day. Do you have people that you prepare meals for like that you've kind of seen over the last year have slowly increased their protein portions?
Yes, we do. We do have actually a few girls who are athletes, and then their meals are based. It started with our regular portion, 4 ounces, and now they go up to 8 ounces of let's say grilled chicken, or even the beef, or whatever we have on the menu at that point. They increasing all the protein, not the carbs. Carbs go usually lower, and they increasing the protein.
Yeah.
Just their goals, as a being athlete, kind of slim down a little bit, and then so that's what they figure out to do.
Yeah. So 4 to 5 ounces of protein, cup of rice seems to be standard.
Plus the green veggie.
Right.
Definitely green
Right.
veggie. Yeah.
Something like a black bean here that has carbohydrates but also has a little bit of protein. What's the thought process behind that, and what a quote unquote proper portion of that would be?
I guess you can ask Janelle, because she is the creator of all the menus and actually all the meals. So I think these meals are based on is it based on calories? Whatever calories are they?
Yeah.
So she count whatever is in the meal. So some calories, the rice got calories, or the cauliflower got calories, the beef got calories, and now you have the beans, you have the corn, everything got calories. So she kind of counting out whatever, so I can put a cup or quarter cup of beans, because they have such an amount of the carbs.
A serving of beans might be like a quarter or 3/4 of a cup. A serving of rice, I think, is up to a cup. So we'll manipulate those in order to really hit our individuals like macros. So if they're looking for something that they want more carbs, they'll get a double serving. Or if it's somebody who's a low carb, just a sprinkle, so you have that taste that you're eating a real burrito bowl.
I'm noticing fairly lower fat across the menu. You get a little bit of fat from the beef, a little bit from the cheese, but very protein and carbohydrate dominant. Any philosophy behind that you've seen has worked for people with whatever goal they're trying to achieve?
Yeah, so we do use fat sparingly because it is a higher calorie intake than a rice or a carb or a protein. So you just do a little bit of cheese, maybe a half a serving if somebody in their macros require, a higher serving. If they're trying to reach even a keto diet, we'll really focus heavily more on the fats. So we do have a lean beef here at this point. And again, some people with this particular meal, they might even add in their own sour cream to up the fat if that's what they choose to do. But we're gonna give it to them as clean as possible. So we just do a little light on the fat, because we also do a lot of full days of food. So for our morning, we have something a little higher in fat, with whole eggs, or our snack is a full fat Greek yogurt with protein. So we're looking at the whole day, and then people who pick and choose their meals, they account for them all themselves with the rest of the food that they're going to eat for the day.
Yeah. So I think a full spread of your macronutrients throughout the day: protein, carbohydrates, and your fats in proper portions. And if you're meal prepping successfully, meal prep typically means macros, which always means proper portions.
All right, master meal preppers. Hope you guys know everything you need to know now about meal prepping. And if you don't, you know who to call.
Right. So before we let everybody go, your best tips for a beginner meal prepper. What is the single most important thing that they should know?
You should definitely know what you're going to cook. So make a meal plan, because that's going to make it a lot easier and reduce your shopping time, reduce your thinking time, and you're ready to go, hit the ground running once you have all of the ingredients to go.
Good advice. Camille, what about you?
For me, it's just a kind of simple advice. Don't jump in fully. Make your little goal, do that goal, complete your goal, and then move on from there to the bigger goal. Because you don't want to start with a big goal, because it's going to be hard, really hard for you to reach it. So that would be my advice.
I like it. All right. And most importantly, where can we find you guys?
Yeah, so we're on Instagram and Facebook at Upstate Meal Prep.
Awesome. All right.
Easy enough.
Yes.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you guys for joining
Thank
us
you
on
for
the
coming by.
Masterclass of meal prepping. We hope you guys had a good time and learned a thing or two, and reach out. Camille and Janelle would love to hear from you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ask what have we done?
Welcome to the Q&A portion of our meal prep masterclass with Upstate Meal Prep. Janelle, Camille, thank you both for spending additional time with us tonight. So you answered a ton of great questions. We got a lot of positive feedback from the video that everybody just watched. So let's dive into some questions that came out of it. Brian is with us live, so we'll head over to him quick and see if he's got any questions off the top of his head other than the one that he sent in earlier.
You guys hear me?
Yep.
Hi,
Here you
Brian.
go.
I don't know. I love the video. I was like laughing. It gave me one of my best workouts of the week when I was watching it. I was laughing about the scale, and I could just tell you guys love preparing the food and stuff. So my favorite part was when you talked about the two ladies, I think, that said were athletes. Me being an endurance athlete, when you mentioned something about extra protein, I was like, oh, you had me at that. So my question was just about the fish. You guys said as a business, you guys don't do the fish because maybe it doesn't keep or it's seasonal, hard to get it in. But I'll look at that question you answered about my freezer question, or what containers you use, whatever you answered to that. But my question was just about the fish. I mean, as long as you make it right and it's flaky, like it should last, but as fish like keeps less, like maybe only 3 days compared to 5 to 6, I think you guys mentioned in the video. That was all. I mean, because for personal taste for myself, I love salmon, haddock, cod's a little smelly, or tilapia, but I just wondered about the fish and like maybe the longevity, how long that would last, so to speak.
So fish, I personally eat a lot of fish, haddock and cod. That's two of my personal choices. And with fish, it's tough. I wouldn't go more than 1 day personally in the fridge. After that, it's losing the taste for me, and I don't like the preheated stuff. So for me, the fresh one will be probably the best option because they are so easy and so quick to make than to freeze them. But if you really want to store them in the fridge, I'll probably go more than 1 day because then for me, I sacrifice the taste of it.
Gotcha.
And,
that makes sense.
You know about you eat the salmon.
Yeah, I mean, I will eat it for probably 3 days max is the max that I would keep it in there. Because you also just want to make sure you're preparing it correctly. And then also when you're reheating it, is it going to keep the integrity of the fish? Is it going to be rubbery, or you've overcooked it at that point? So it's just a little bit trickier. And I do find that it just does go bad a little bit faster than like a chicken or a beef.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
This might seem like an obvious follow-up to that, but what's a key indication that perhaps the fish has been in the fridge for too long? Obviously the smell probably, but anything that you look for in the container itself that might be a red flag that you should probably toss it rather than ingest it?
I'm just going to go with smell. I mean, I've even bought fish, for myself, and it's still good. I just got it like the day before, but as soon as you open the package and you smell anything other than a sea breeze, it's not good. So I'm like, I just spent like, X amount of dollars on this salmon and I was so looking forward to it. And I open it and it's just not good. So it's like really hard. Again, it is an animal. They're all different. So, one piece is going to, rot faster than the other, which is unfortunate because I'm like, the data on this is still good. Like I should bring it back, but I'm not going to risk it. So, but other than that, I mean, it shouldn't be like slimy if you're looking at it. After it's been cooked, it shouldn't have like any weird discoloration, or again, just the scent alone is going to be your dead giveaway with the seafood anyway.
For me, it's more the texture. I like if I eat fish, I like when is it all flaky, nice out of the, let's say if I cook in a pan or in the oven, it comes out nice and flaky. If you reheat it after that one day in the fridge, it kind of losing that flakiness. And that's what kind of my issue is, to keep eating it over and over.
Yeah. Cool. All right. So let's dive into the questions from some others that watched the video and couldn't join us here. Shelly from Arizona asks, what's your best advice for people who are single and cooking for one to avoid getting bored and to help prevent wasting money? She says most recipes are for 4 to 6 servings, which she feels gets boring after the second or third time eating it. But she also says then it also becomes hard when you try to make smaller recipes, since you're buying things in bulk, but only need a small part of it for those smaller recipes. So any tips, suggestions would be great around how to cook, prepare for one person without getting bored.
I'm going to take it because I have just a short answer for it. Jenna, I'm going to go more to specific. I think that if you get bored, it's more that you can prepare your food, eat the 2 meals a day, which you're going to be already prepared from day before or 2 days before, and maybe cook yourself a good lunch or cook yourself a dinner. Let's kind of break it down, that habit of eating every day the same food over and over. Like make your favorite food once a day or once every other day, and then keep eating the food you prepared, the prepared food, 2 days, 3 days ahead.
Okay. So you're not eating the same thing every single meal. You're kind of giving yourself a little bit of variety.
And it is kind of tough. This is when you come to tough part of dieting or eating healthy. And, sacrifice the money, it's, you don't want to spend the money on the food and then not eat it, so I think it's better to always give yourself that little fresh meal to kind of get off that preheated, microwave food.
Yeah.
I would recommend, because if you're buying the stuff in bulk to try to save money in anticipation of like this big meal prep, and you're making just small meals out of like a chicken or a beef or even vegetables, find another recipe to use those things in. So, maybe you just bought like 15 pounds of ground beef or something and, divide that up. So like, all right, I'm going to take this amount and make meatballs out of it. And I'm going to take this amount and make taco meat out of it. And I'm going to use the remaining amount and make, something completely different. And then that way you have a few meals that are going to be easier, to make because they're smaller portion, but still, utilizing being able to buy things in bulk.
What about the sides or the different vegetables? Like you could take a bunch of pounds of ground beef, put some taco seasoning in a portion of it, put some Italian seasoning in another portion of it, and mix and match the vegetables, make tacos, make pasta with meat sauce. Like that's another sort of option or route that you could go to kind of keep it fresh and not stale, I guess, right?
Yeah, definitely. Just use your spices, things that you have. Also, it's good to like things that you like to eat, or like maybe that said hamburger, you have Italian and taco, and then actually make a hamburger. have a little cheeseburger. So just different ideas. And it's just like once you kind of start thinking like, oh, what can I make from this? Like the possibilities just will start like rolling in, and you'll you open up the floodgates and you start getting all the kinds of ideas. And, you know, for the next week, you'll be like, oh, and write them down. Once you start having ideas that pop into your head, like, oh, maybe I'll try this recipe, or I want to, Google this for this specific meal, write it down so you really don't get stuck the next week when you're sitting there staring at some raw meat and saying, what am I going to do with this?
Well,
You
it's a
kind of have a
little
plan.
fun, a little fun of cooking and enjoying the food at the same time as you're losing weight and eating healthy.
Yeah, so maybe try a few safe options and then try something you haven't tried before.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's, one of the biggest hurdles I see is people, it's kind of like a little bit of a dichotomy, right? They feel like dieting sucks because you've got to eat the same bland food over and over again. But then at the other end, they're trying to like whip up these Michelin star meals and, be on like Top Chef. So like, just find some spot
Exactly.
in the middle there where, you can have fun and have, reasonably well tasting food. All
Keep
right.
it simple.
Yeah, keep it simple. Okay, so one other question that folks sent in. This one was actually also from Brian as well. What kind of containers to use if he chooses to meal prep, make a bunch of food, and then freeze it afterwards? He said a lot of the ones that he's used in the past seem to work well for 5 to 7 days worth of food staying strictly in the refrigerator. But when he puts it in the freezer, the containers start to get a little funky. So what's your best recommendation around containers, and what ones might be more advantageous if you're going to freeze them at some point?
So I would recommend like the containers that we showed you previously. I don't know if we showed you or spoke about, but these lovely little black containers, I actually just pulled this out of my own freezer. And in
Cool.
here is some chicken. There's a verde sauce, some pickled onions, chicken, and cauliflower rice. And I started putting this away when I was pregnant, expecting to be on maternity leave and be hungry and not being able to have time to cook for myself. So I started stashing away my favorite meals. This is actually one of them. And you just pull it out. I usually, if I think of it, pull it out the night before and just let it kind of like gradually thaw out in the refrigerator and then heat it up. But you could heat it right from frozen as well. And I find that they heat very well. These are very durable. They don't crack or split open from being frozen, and the top is a little domed slightly. So if there is any expansion, it kind of accommodates for that.
And then taking that question one step further, does the food quality diminish at all in the freezer? Anything that you need to kind of be aware of or pay attention to if that you're going to prepare something only to freeze it that day or a few days later and eat it a week or so, if not more? I mean, my grandmother's still pulling slices of pizza out of her freezer from 90s, I'm sure.
I definitely feel that. Well, like with this meal, for instance, it does have a sauce attached to it. So I would just take out the little ramekin of sauce. It's already off to the side. That will thaw out separately. And then this is particularly cauliflower rice. So sometimes when that, freezes and gets reheated, it might be a little watery or runny. So you could just drain that off or just heat it partially and then heat it the rest of the way with the top off and letting some of that steam evaporate naturally. That is one thing to do. But for the most part, I don't know. You don't really eat too much frozen food, but I do. And I don't really notice it being like the integrity of it being too damaged from being frozen and reheated. So again, it's all about like just like, letting it thaw out is a good idea. I would probably be wary of like something heavily sauced because the sauce might separate a little bit. So maybe that might be something you would want to even throw into to, or, just make sure you stir it a lot. My grandmother used to heat frozen things up on the stove. So I was going to say, throw it in a pot and cook it on the stove, but you could, microwave it for a few minutes, make sure you stir it to incorporate it back to its original state, and then keep going until you get the consistency.
Well, don't be surprised that the taste is not exactly the same day as the first day when you cook it. You got to expect that it's not going to be exactly the same taste.
Yeah.
Not necessarily doesn't mean that it's, the food is bad. It's just not going to have that fresh taste, as the same day as you cooked it.
Right. Okay. Brian, you got any other questions that you want to ask while you've got them?
No, I enjoyed the video, and I don't cook hardly ever at home, and this bingo thing I needed to do to get done with that. I'm excited about that, but no, I just genuinely enjoyed the video, and I've done some meal prepping a little bit with another friend of yours, but it's like those were the best 2 weeks that I've had at the beginning of this year by eating the good food. And I'm like, oh man, I just need some more protein. I could eat 3 of these chicken strips with balsamic, whatever the other gentleman makes. But like, I'm excited to potentially order, and it's just training for Ironman and long triathlons and marathons.
Awesome.
It's like I eat the same stuff over and over again. I lick the bowls of everything I eat. I love my protein, my cottage cheese with the pineapples in it, but I got some Fage yogurt in the fridge now, and I had to make a grocery list up for this bingo thing Jim's doing. So like, this just all came at a good time, and like, it's just exciting because, I bought a kettlebell to do a workout, but I've also like had to post a grocery list. Well, I'm not just going to post it and not go. I'm going to go get the groceries and cook a new recipe tomorrow. So, but you made it seem so simplistic, and I love the assembly line. So like, I really appreciate it.
Definitely.
And it makes it
I'm
not
glad
so
you enjoyed it.
intimidating. I watched Jim and Karen cook before too, and cook chicken 3 ways, and that's not intimidating either, but it makes you want to try, or at least makes me want to try. So thank you so much.
Exactly. You're very welcome. I hope you enjoy your cooking.
Sweet. Well, no, I didn't see any other questions. So short and sweet. I think with the video and the Q&A, we're probably running up against 50 to 60 minutes. So I'll let you guys get back to it. I really appreciate it. So just one last time, let everybody know where they can find you on the internet, on social media, and hopefully you get some new customers coming your way.
Yeah, you can definitely reach out to us. We're at Upstate Meal Prep on Facebook, Instagram, and Upstate Meal Prep at Gmail for an email.
And if you're located in Albany, you can go to Albany Strength, which is located on Central Avenue. We do carry our food products over there also.
Oh, yeah. Talk about that actually a little bit more. So if I just drove through there, I could buy as many meals as I wanted. They have them just sitting there.
They have them in stock, correct? They don't have a very big selection. I think we do 2 different meals.
Yeah, our best sellers.
Yeah, which is ground beef and rice, and then some kind of chicken with some carbs. So that's mostly what you will get there. Nice and simple. It's mostly to if you are for the people who needs to get a quick good food in them or forgot their food at home. So it's a little quick, good, healthy meal replacement. Yeah,
probably better and healthier, more advantageous to some weight loss goals than many of the other restaurants you'll find down that way. I know we have a handful of people that work right in downtown Albany, so that's good. It's essentially operates as an extra takeout place that's serving up some healthy, fresh meals.
Yeah, and they even have a microwave for you to use. So
Yes.
Even better. That's great.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Camille, Janelle, thank you very much.
You want to say bye?
Say bye-bye.
Bye.
Goodbye, Jim.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Jim.
you, Jim.